Secret Service has said they cannot find any of the texts sent January 5th or January 6th. Now, after the Inspector General asked for them. Congressman Hank Johnson of Georgia is on the House Oversight Committee. He joins us right now. Congressman, the Secret Service is supposed to be the top of the line, non-biased law enforcement agency. This has to be of grave concern that they would delete text messages on a crucial day. And to me, this really speaks to this potential coup and how the Secret Service could have been in on it.
Well, Roland Martin, thank you for having me on, and good to be with you again. And I'll tell you, I lost confidence in the Secret Service when the first state dinner that President Obama had as president was invaded by a couple of people who were not on the guest list. And the Secret Service is in charge of the White House. They should know who's coming and going at all times, and nobody paid a price. The only person that got fired was Michelle Obama's appointment secretary for that breach. And so here we go, fast forward up to this point where we've got a guy who Donald Trump took out of the Secret Service and put him in charge of some political operation in the White House. At the same time, he was with the Secret Service. And so I'm not surprised that suddenly we can't find text messages from the day of the insurrection and the day before the insurrection. Something about those 2 days, and Secret Service had already been warned that we're going to need that. So don't destroy that information. Secure it, and we're going to be needing it during a investigation to come, and still that information ends up being deleted. It smells badly, has a bad smell about it.
Well, not only that, we also trying to figure out how did the Secret Service overlook the pipe bombs from placed outside of the DNC when Vice President-elect Kamala Harris was in the DNC as well. I mean, and I think people who say, okay, Roland, it's really not a big deal. No, this is major. You're talking about the law enforcement agency whose job is to protect the president and the vice president of the United States.
Well, I think that that agency is in need of a makeover. The fact that black agents who work for the Secret Service office have had a long-running lawsuit against that agency for racial discrimination. I mean, systemic racism exists within the Secret Service. I have no doubt about that. It still exists. It has been systemic, and it's something that needs to be rooted out. And so there's a lot of change that needs to happen at the Secret Service.
I think President Biden should immediately suspend anybody who was in the chain of command on January 5th, January 6th. Those people should not be in charge right now. If there were any people who were on that detail, they should be placed on desk duty. We don't know who to trust. And what bothers me is that they were deleted after the Inspector General asked for them, which means that was a deliberate act. And not only that, the National Archives is now talking about launching an investigation because any government, anything that happens on government property must be maintained. There's a law. Congress has a law that says that. And so this should scare anybody that somebody said, wipe all text messages that took place on the 5th and the 6th on one of the most crucial days in the history of this country.
Well, I'll tell you, Roland, Donald Trump thumbed his nose at the law, at the rules, at regulations. He did things the way that he wanted to do them, and he did not care what the consequences would be. And so far, he has not been held accountable for that recklessness. And so people who served under him have adopted that same method of dealing, they feel like they can get away with murder and nothing will happen to them. People like Steve Bannon, who today is on trial for thumbing his nose at Congress, all the way up until last week when he decided, okay, I'll I'll submit to an interview. Well, it's too late to do that now, and hopefully he will be held accountable in a court of law, just like so many others who ran with Trump and supported him in his efforts to obstruct our 2020 presidential election, the in the attempts to install uh, fake electors, to corrupt the electoral college system. I mean, everything that he did and those who supported him, they need to be held accountable for.
Absolutely. Look, I know that you have to vote. I appreciate you taking some time to chat with us. Again, I really hope the House Oversight Committee has its own hearings specific to the breakdowns in the Secret Service. And so that absolutely needs to happen. And so we look forward to that. And we look forward to the January 6th committee hearing taking place on Thursday.
Well, I tell you, Roland, that's why it's so important that even though people may be a little disappointed that we haven't passed the John Lewis Voting Rights Act or the Voting Rights Advancement Act or the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act, we've done a lot with the infrastructure bill, Infrastructure and Investment in Jobs Act, and with the American Rescue Plan that saved this country from the depths of recession. We have done so many things that if Republicans had been in charge, it would not have happened. And so it's important now that people realize that Democrats, although we haven't been able to advance the ball as far as we would like because we've dealt with two Democrats in the Senate who have obstructed us, we need to elect more Democrats in the Senate, and we need to retain our majority in the House of Representatives. So it's very important that people get out in November and vote for Democrats. And so when we do that, we'll be able to continue our efforts to get to the bottom of all of the corruption that almost deprived us of our democracy and our very liberties. Those are some things that are so very important that we need to not go and pout because we didn't get everything we want. We got to come back to the polls, do it again, do it bigger this time. And when we come back, we got 2 more years in this administration to do the things we need in order to make things work for the people of this country.
Indeed, Congressman Hank Johnson, we sure appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, I want to bring right now, folks, Reddit Hudson. He is the co-founder of the National Coalition of Law Enforcement for Justice, Reform, and Accountability. Reddit, glad to have you here. Looks like you're in the car like I am. Look, explain to people how serious this is, that the Secret Service deletes text messages after the Inspector General requested them, and now saying, oh, we can't find any text messages between anybody on those 2 days.
It couldn't be more serious, Roland, because we have to connect the dots, right? It's not just the Secret Service. You have Congress people actively aiding and abetting ongoing crimes. You have a former president who's committed a trove of crimes, first listed in the Mueller report, but never being held accountable for it. As the congressman previously said, he was spot on in his assessments. And when you see that this coup attempt is continuing to unfold, that was just a part of it, man. What we saw on January 6th was a step in the process. You have Republican legislatures all over the country securing elections in advance of voting. We are going to decide whose votes count. We're going to decide who votes or not. When you connect those dots, and to the congressman's point, see the impunity with which these people are operating, man. The Secret Service could give a damn about a directive from anybody not to erase that evidence. We're going to erase it, and what are you going to do about it? Same thing with Donald Trump. I'm going to incite this violence. What are you going to do about it? Now, what we've seen And this is why it really is important to pay attention to that. What we've seen is a mediocre response at best from that hall of power that we would expect to respond to these kinds of things, the Department of Justice. And I hear the apologists for Merrick Garland saying, be patient. He's playing chess, not checkers. No, man. The statute of limitations is going to run out on many of the important investigations that are already underway, and the information that the Secret Service had here could be critical to that. And what could happen potentially, because of the lack of enthusiasm that the congressman tried to address in the previous segment, is that Republicans could regain a majority and all these investigations go away. Go away, man. Everything is at stake right now, man. The entire democratic experiment, such as it is on the line if
But
nobody can get to the bottom of this quickly.
remember, we've had testimony where the Secret Service agent, who then Donald Trump makes a deputy chief of staff, wanted the Secret Service to take Vice President Mike Pence to another location, and it was Pence was like, I am not getting in that car. See, I mean, people need to understand, we're talking about the Secret Service potentially, and it says a huge red flag. What has happened here? You may have had agents who were directly involved in this coup d'etat, this attempted coup.
Right. And Roland, here, what people don't think, I don't think a lot of people don't grasp, is the scope and scale of the compromised nature of all of our governing apparatus and everything else, up to and including the Supreme Court, who also appears to be operating as agents of the far-right radical folks who want to take us back 150 years, damn near to slavery by law. And we have to see those people who are in position to hold folks accountable criminally do so. I want Merrick Garland specifically to step on the gas, man. Listen, he just put that memo out reiterating a policy that William Barr, of all the damn people, William Barr, who aided and abetted all kinds of crime until his recent testimony acknowledging the fact that reality exists, and Donald Trump knew that, there was no fraud in the election. He was just trying to steal it. But to put out a memo that says, hey, now we're getting close to the elections. Well, of course we're close to the elections because you've allowed your investigations to run that long. And be careful. Let's not appear to be partisan. Let's not appear to be, on one side or the other, is ultimately going to allow, inevitably, for those who are responsible for committing crimes openly to escape accountability and continue committing crimes to the point where we may not recognize this place in 4 years.
Reddit, there have been countless movies done where there have been Secret Service agents who were on the take, who did things to, whether you're talking about White House Down, whether we're talking about, my goodness, the Sentinel, we can go on and on and on. When we talk about, explain to the public from a law enforcement standpoint where the Secret Service ranks in terms of hierarchy and respect.
They're at the top. They're at the top, man. And what's different about it is when you have an individual agent culpable in some individual act of criminality, that's one thing. This appears to be part of a systemic challenge to democracy. And if you have compromised that agency, which is pretty much at the top of law enforcement, your responsibilities include the protection of the president and the vice president, foreign dignitaries as they arrive. I've worked with the Secret Service. When I was on the police department, we coordinated. I was in the intelligence unit for St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. We coordinated with the Secret Service to protect Bill Clinton. That's how far back I'm going. But they are at the top, man, and they are licensed to kill. The Secret Service, man, they drive around in that big ass SUV you see following the presidential motorcade. And if they observe you to be a legitimate threat, they can raise up out of that vehicle, put you down, and keep it moving. It's at the top, man. So to see someone appointed to the staff of Donald Trump and accept the position, accept the position, which by definition is a partisan, I'm on this team position. as a law enforcement agency that historically has been characterized as a neutral actor is more than alarming, man. It requires a response.
And then goes back to the Secret Service.
Hey, man, from what I understand, he's overtraining now. Overtraining in the Secret Service. It's the problem, man. It's a serious problem. Which is why
you go from Secret Service to a deputy chief of staff for Trump and back to the Secret Service. President Joe Biden should have bounced his ass day one.
Hey, him, the guy over at the post office, DeJoy, all of these actors who were clearly had a role in attempting to subvert my vote and yours and take, democracy down the damn drain should have been responded to. And that is what is dismaying to so many people. And I hear people who are, quote unquote, more sophisticated thinkers and with inside knowledge talk again about being patient with the process and you don't understand. I understand because it's happening in real time. This is a 50-year plan that the Republicans had to walk us back, and they are, on schedule. That intensity needs to be matched by those entities, especially the Department of Justice, who can respond to it. Because me and you, short of revolution, can't respond in a meaningful and substantive way. They can and they must, because the will of the people is being stepped on, man. The Supreme Court's ruling that you were talking about at the top of your show, those people were appointed by presidents who never touched a majority of the vote. They represent a minority point of view, and they are trying to exert minority rule on the rest of us. And it's crap, man. I need to see the Democrats fight a little harder. I understand the congressman and his point, but man, take some risks. Go after somebody.
Yeah.
Make them pay. They would, if the shoe was on the other foot, they would kick your, If the shoe was on the other foot, they'd be frog marching some of these Democrats into the jail cells, man, in handcuffs and on camera.
Indeed. Reddit Hudson, I still appreciate it, man. Thanks for joining us. All right, folks, back to our Roland Unfiltered video in just one moment. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?